Supporting Success for Children with Hearing Loss, which is an online resource of information and products and lots of things that are there to help improve the futures of students with hearing loss. So it's aimed at professionals and parents of kiddos who are deaf or hard of hearing. Hopefully, if you're signing on to this webinar, you've have some acquaintance with the Supporting Success for Kids with Hearing Loss website. I can't tell you how pleased I am that we are partnering with Rob Palmquist from Auditory Sciences to be able to share this software technology with you to improve how well at least some of our students who are deaf or hard of hearing are able to access what the teacher is saying in the classroom. It occurred to me just earlier today that it's been just about exactly a year since the Department of Education and the Department of Justice here in the U.S. released a policy clarification for the Americans with Disabilities Act that specified that schools must ensure that communication is as effective for students with hearing loss as it is for their peers, so that they too can have an equal opportunity to obtain the same level of achievement as others. Wow, this is really a tall bar to try and meet in the school system, because we know that despite how much better hearing devices have become, they don't restore normal hearing. And our students with hearing loss have to put forth more effort, and it takes them longer to process the information, which then makes it harder for them to put it into their long-term memory. So there really are a lot of disadvantages to having a hearing loss in the classroom. Hearing loss is not a disorder, it's not a learning disorder, but there are learning issues related to being in communication environments that have the barriers of distance and noise, which makes it especially challenging in a school system or a school situation, because our students are always at a distance from their teacher beyond the optimal 3-foot distance in quiet, which is really what their hearing devices are set up for in terms of having them hear optimally. So that brings us to thinking about what accommodations can we provide at least some of our students so that they can close that listening gap. As children get older, yes, they learn how to read, and they're depending on their reading to supplement what it is they're hearing from the teacher, but all of that new vocabulary that is surrounding them, it's a lot harder for our students with hearing loss to hear because it is often beyond their listening bubble or their hearing proximity. So keeping up with vocabulary is always a challenge, and that listening gap they have really can eat away at their academic pace and their academic learning. And that can certainly put them at a disadvantage. So when the ADA policy makes it very clear that they should have an equal opportunity to obtain the same level of achievement as their typically hearing peers, it's really hard to find accommodations that will really close that listening gap. If you're sitting in listening to this webinar, thank you again for coming. Hopefully you've had a chance to go onto the website and take advantage of watching the video that is there, that short video that kind of gives you a quick tour, and looking through some of the pages that discusses the information about Interact AS. That really gives you a head start in getting ready to see it in action here at on this webinar. And as we know that there's increasing numbers of students with hearing loss in the mainstream classroom, and more of these students are struggling with not being able to completely hear all that the teacher says, even with the great hearing aids and the great FM technology. I would guess almost all of you are sitting in on this webinar because you have one or more specific students in mind and are seeking answers to the question like, how does Interact AS software really work? And will it be suitable for my student? And what will it take to get it up and running? So that is what we're going to be covering, and Rob Palmquist is going to do a beautiful job of bringing you through some slides and then doing a demonstration. And ultimately what we want to get to are your questions as well. We have an unusually large group attending this webinar. Again, thank you. And we will kind of cluster your questions and try and get to them at the end. If you're wondering, there will be a follow-up email to all of those folks that have registered for this webinar, and it will include the recording of the webinar and a link to the slides as well. So you'll be able to review with your group afterwards and maybe share with parents or some such. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Robert Palmquist. Hey Rob, tell us about Interact AS.
Well, hi, thanks. Thanks so much for that nice introduction, Karen, and thank you everyone for joining us today. We certainly appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to learn a bit more about how you can support students, in this case students that are hard of hearing. And let's try and get some slides here. Some real quick webinar tips. First off, we got a lot of people here, actually, really a lot of people joining us. So I'm going to leave the telephone connections muted, actually. So to ask a question, we certainly encourage you to do that, and you can raise your hand by clicking on the button shown on your screen, or better yet, open up your control panel that's shown probably on the right side of your screen and type your questions there, and we'll make sure that they get answered during the course of this webinar. Also, for those of you that would like to view a captioning of what I'm saying right now, you can do that using a new product that's in development. This new product is called Interact Streamer. And so if you'd like to give that a shot, take a look at that. On your smartphone, laptop, whatever it might be, go ahead and open up a browser and go to the location there that is displayed, speechgear.cloudapp.net. And if you do that, go ahead and log on using the account and the password shown. Success for Kids, and the password in this case is success. There's only one room that you'll see there, and that's called Webinar. So go ahead and open that up, and I'll turn on the captioning. And so again, if you'd like to see how that new product that is in development works, called Interact Streamer, we encourage you to go ahead and do that. Again, speechgear.cloudapp.net. Sign on using the account Success for Kids, and the password in this case is success. All right, let me jump forward here and get a little more into Interact AS, which is what we want to talk about in this particular session. So what we have with Interact AS is a product that was initially developed in partnership with the United States Marine Corps. And I certainly like giving the Marine Corps credit for what they've done for us here, in particular the ability to develop this product. We initially started working with the Marine Corps developing products for language translation. And it started out after 9/11 with the events in the Middle East. And so they needed a system to be able to simultaneously translate between English and Arabic. And as a result of that success, they ended up coming back to us for some additional programs, in particular in this case with the Wounded Warrior program. And so we are very appreciative of the Marine Corps and the Office of Naval Research of allowing us to better support our Marines. In this case, on the day after Veterans Day, we're certainly very proud to be part of the effort to support our wounded warriors, in this case individuals that have experienced hearing loss as a result of their in-theater operations. Interact AS has indeed been around a while. And so we released our first product, roughly about 4 years ago. And we've certainly made dramatic changes to the system as the software has been developed, continuing to update that. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the features that we've recently added and some more of the features that we're going to be adding in the very short time frame. But again, lots of different product review here, and we're a little bit of geeks around here, we admit that. And so in particular, we really like this particular one, where CNET's review of us calls us the Star Trek Universal Translator, and we kind of appreciate that. Captioning can take on multiple forms of speech, and certainly Interact AS supports these different types of capabilities. So for example, a conference room meeting or a casual conversation. Radio, movies, certainly church services. It's a very large and fast-growing market for us that we continually support. But in here, what we're talking about in this webinar is in particular the lectures and the seminars. And so we're going to focus on that. And let's jump over here. There we go. Also within Interact AS, what you have is a variety of very nice tools in order to support speech and sound generation. So if you have a student that has poor verbal skills, poor articulation, or is simply uncomfortable speaking in class, you can go ahead and use Interact in order to generate speech so he is able to ask questions in the classroom, for example. Also, as part of this, as I mentioned, we initially started out with language translation, and that's still retained within the product line. So if you're going to have an IEP meeting, for example, with a parent that would prefer to speak Spanish, now you can use this software in order to facilitate that meeting. Anything that you say in English is going to be simultaneously displayed and spoken in Spanish, and whatever they say in Spanish is in turn going to be simultaneously displayed and spoken in English. And you can see there's lots of different languages that we support within this product line. As I mentioned, we do release new versions of Interact AS quite regularly. At the beginning of this school year, we did release a major release with a brand new speech engine built from the core up. Significantly improved accuracy, and also I want to talk a little bit about dynamic voice recognition. So with the dynamic voice recognition, what you have is the ability to better support a team teaching situation, where maybe you have two teachers in a classroom and they're taking turns speaking. With this new dynamic capability, what the software is able to do is automatically detect who is speaking at any given instant and be able to use that to better transcribe what that teacher is saying. So again, that was a very nice feature that we added. Certainly additional dialect support throughout the, boy, looking at the list of countries represented here in this webinar, and there's quite a wide variety, but certainly lots of different dialects, different accents that are spoken throughout the U.S. and throughout the world. And with this new release, we're able to better support those various forms of dialects. Personalized training scripts, favorites lists, lots of different features that are all built in here. I'm going to kind of skip over this because I don't want to spend all the time just doing slides. I really want to get into being able to demonstrate the actual software itself. So a quick tour of the software. What we have here is at the very top, what you see is the navigation bar. This is where the student can access the 5 main pages within the software. The user page, the translate page, the configure page, the visualize page, and the help page. The student's going to spend most of their time in the translate pages, which is where they view the captioning that's being displayed. That's what we're looking at right now in this particular setup. The most recently spoken phrase is shown quite deliberately in the very top box. The reason we place that is, I want to talk a little bit about that. We wanted to make that most recent phrase very easy to find, and so that's what we did here. The student has the ability to be able to look at that top box, to be able to see that most recent phrase, and do that very quickly. So let's say the teacher, for example, for a moment looks down at an iPad, for example, or perhaps walks towards the back of the classroom. During those moments, the student is unable to see the teacher's face. And so what they can do in that particular situation is look at that top box and see what they've just missed. Down in the next box, what you see is the teacher control box. There we go, having a little trouble with PowerPoint. There we go. This is where you as a teacher can control when the captioning occurs. You can decide when you want to use the captioning, when it comes up, when it should be saved for future reference. All the above features are all part of what you can control as a teacher. And so again, you have complete control over whether somebody is going to be able to see the transcript, to be able to use them for later use. If you do not want your voice recorded, then you do not have to have your voice recorded. Again, all this is totally up to you, and you control everything with respect to that. Still fighting PowerPoint here. Down at the very bottom, we have a transcript of the entire conversation. So everything that's been said, again, is displayed in this very bottom box, and you can use that again to help you with your particular student in order for them to get the appropriate information. Again, the most recently spoken phrase is shown at the top, and down in the bottom here, what we have is the entire transcript itself. Let's get out of these PowerPoint slides since I'm having trouble with PowerPoint anyways, and get over to Interact, which is definitely what you want to see anyways. So here then is the user page. The student is going to have a user account for each teacher. And in this particular case, I have roughly about a dozen different user accounts. You can have an unlimited number of user accounts. And so this would be, for starters, every teacher, perhaps their parents, guardians, the media center, a cafeteria worker, anything like that. Again, you can have as many as you want. What I'm going to do is load one here that just deals with English. So right now I do not have a language module loaded. And when I click on this, what's going to happen is once everything loads here, you'll be able to see a captioning of everything that I'm saying. So again, we'll just wait for this to load for a second. And with that now, you're able to see a captioning of everything that I'm saying. So again, this is real time. Actually, on my end, I see it much faster than you do. Because this is a webinar, there's actually a bit of a time delay. So you see it roughly about a second behind what I see it. But again, this is very much real time. There's no script that I'm reading. This is an example of what a teacher would be doing in the classroom. Notice that at the very top box, you see the most recent sentence that I'm saying. And down in the bottom, what you're seeing is a running transcript of everything that's being spoken. I can give some examples, I guess, of how Interact uses context in order to better produce a transcript. So for example, if I say something like, they're going over there to get their awards. You can see how we use context in order to get the appropriate spelling of that particular sentence. Or for example, we're up here in Minnesota right now, and this past weekend was deer hunting season. It opened this past weekend. So I can say something like, I like to hunt deer on my John Deere tractor. And again, you can see how context is used in order to generate the appropriate transcript. Again, this is all being done by software. There is no person in the background typing. This is no pre-scripted version that I'm using. Everything that I'm saying is being done very much in real time. So as a result of this being done by software, this is literally 1/100th the price of any other approach that you would use. Plus, with this approach, what you get is an immediate transcript that the student can save and use at any time. Also, as part of this transcript, what you have is a synchronized voice recording. So if I highlight any portion of this transcript, what I'll hear is an audio recording of what you, the teacher, was saying at that given moment. Again, you have the ability to turn on or off that feature. So if you're uncomfortable with that feature being part of this software, simply turn it off. If you do want it to be part of the software, part of the experience for the student, then go ahead and leave that turned on. But again, the software does give the ability to have a synchronized voice recording that's attached as part of the transcript itself. So again, this is just a basic example of how Interact works, captioning of everything that's being said in the classroom. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the captioning for a moment here. And over on the right side, what you can see is 3 icons. I hope you can see that. It might be a little bit small. But what I'm going to do is click on one of these icons here in the middle, and I'm going to save this transcript. In this particular case, I'm going to save it as, what should I call this, webinar. And I'm going to save this right to my desktop, so it's somewhat easy to find, although I certainly do have a very cluttered desktop. And I'm going to save it as a text file. So now when I do this, I can go out to my desktop, and let's see if I can find it here. Pull over a browser and get to my desktop. We'll take a look at this. And here then is the notes that I was saying during my presentation at this moment. So you can see it's very easy to generate a text file or a Word document or a Google Doc, anything like that, of the transcript. You could post this to a server so a student could take it home with them, or perhaps they're going to take it home on a thumb drive, or they could take the computer home. Whatever your preferred approach is, the student can have the ability to have these transcripts and have them be part of their studies and use this in their home environment. So that was a very quick overview of Interact, and let me jump back over to the screen here. A couple other very quick things. Within the configure page, you do have the ability very much to personalize Interact for your particular needs. Also, if you notice, we have something called a visualize page. And with that visualize page, which you have the ability to pull up documents or a homework assignment, or perhaps it's a map of the school, whatever you like, you can pull that up, and we give you then tools to be able to draw on that or to notate on that. So for example, if I have a test coming up on the 14th, I could circle that, I could type in something, anything like that. Again, all part of the ability of being able to use this tool to enhance communications for the students. All right, and so I think that was basically all I was going to say about Interact AS. Let's go back over to the PowerPoint slides and see if I can get PowerPoint working once again. There we go. And let's talk about the typical classroom setup. So by far, the most common approach within the United States and Canada, certainly different for overseas, in particular countries like India or Pakistan. But within the U.S., it's by far most common for the student to have the laptop or tablet sitting at their desk. Versus overseas, it's very common to have the captioning displayed at the front of the room. But again, within the United States and Canada, by far, the student has the laptop or tablet sitting at their desk. In terms of recommended operating systems, we certainly prefer Windows 8.1 or Windows 10 over the others that are shown here, but anyone is going to work fine there. And we really do want a fast processor here. You know, everybody says faster is better in terms of computing. In this case, it's really true. There's an amazing amount of statistics that we're doing with this software in order to really make it work for you. And so we do hammer a processor. There's no way around that. We absolutely hammer that CPU. And so definitely if you can go out and purchase a newer computer with an Intel i5 or faster CPU, we're talking about a system that's roughly going to cost you, let's say, $700 for that. So we're not talking $10,000 here or something like that. But definitely, if we'd like a newer computer versus one that perhaps is sitting around for 3-4 years and nobody's really using it anymore, we definitely do like having a faster CPU in order to drive this software. Along those lines, 4 gigabytes or more of RAM and a USB port for the microphone. Talk about the microphone real quick here. We certainly have our own wireless microphone that we do recommend. The microphone is an important part of a successful system. The wireless microphone that you can buy through the Success for Children with Hearing Loss website is much smaller than the Phonak Inspiro or Rogers systems, roughly about 1/3 the size. And that we felt was important. The ease of being able to carry it between classes is important. And so you can get kind of an idea of the size of the transmitter and receiver here with respect to the headset. So again, much smaller in size. The cost for the system, if you go to their website, is $349, so about 1/5 the price of probably an Oticon or a Phonak system. But certainly in terms of speech recognition, which is what this is designed for, it will outperform those other systems. And that's not to say something negative about Phonak or Oticon. Those systems were not designed with speech recognition in mind. That is not their intended use, whereas in this case it very much is. And so we went through a lot of effort to make sure that this was a really nice system in order to be able to support Interact AS. Also very common within schools to purchase a separate headset for each teacher and I don't know a nice way of saying this, but there's always hygiene concerns. And so that teacher on 7th hour really doesn't want to put on a headset that 6 others have worn previously that day. So it is very common to purchase a separate headset for each teacher, and pretty affordable here. And so for an additional $196, you'll get 5 headsets. And that seems to be kind of the magic number, 5 plus the one that comes with the wireless headset, and that'll get you through the day with each teacher having their own system. Typically, we get a lot of questions about being able to use an existing wireless FM system. Certainly, if a student already is using a wireless FM system, something like an Inspiro, we do not want to take away an accommodation that's being successful for that student. And so definitely you could use that wireless FM system and connect it to your computer using a second receiver. You definitely can do that. It's not the recommended approach. What is recommended is that we're going to take the transmitter off the teacher, and instead we're going to connect it to the computer. And that's done using this USB adapter that comes with every license that we sell of Interact AS. And so there's a green port on that. We're going to connect the Inspiro or the Roger, or perhaps you have something like a ComPilot streamer. We're going to connect that to the green port of this USB adapter, and with the voice streaming feature built into the software, it's going to be able to stream that audio directly to the student's hearing aid or their CI. Again, that's all part of what's built into the system. The streamer I mentioned briefly to you, and so hopefully some of you are taking a look at that. But with the streamer, what you have is captioning of, for example, morning announcements or all school assemblies. If you have a very large team teaching situation where you have 5 or 6 teachers that are maybe involved, or perhaps a classroom discussion, you could use Streamer also in that particular mode. Also, because it's being streamed to multiple devices, an iPad, a Chromebook, something like that, each student at that time can choose their own preference in terms of font size, color, in order to better personalize the system for their particular needs. Also coming out in the not too distant future is something called Interact AS Video. And so this is born out of requests to develop a tool that makes it very easy to caption videos. And so if you're recording your lectures or you have some sort of video that is not captioned, that's what Interact AS Video is all about. This is not a video editor. This is specifically designed to be able to easily caption videos. And it's not totally automated process, but it becomes really close to be able to combine Interact AS with Interact Video and be able to very rapidly create a captioned version of the videos that you are producing. Again, that's called Interact AS Video. It's not available yet, but it will be coming out shortly. So with that, let me show you the contact information, and let's pull Dr. Anderson back in here to the conversation and take a look at some of your questions, and we'll make sure that all those get answered.
Thanks, Rob. That was a wonderful overview. And one of the things I wanted to emphasize is that it is incredibly important for a boom microphone to be used if Interact AS is really going to be as accurate as we would like it to be. And just last month we had the National Supporting Success for Children with Hearing Loss conference in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we were using the Interact AS streamer for our captioning, and it just came home to me all over again how important it was for that microphone to be positioned on the head correctly, with the microphone itself no more than about an inch, maybe 2 inches, but about an inch from that, each of the speakers' mouths. And if it was any further than that, it was really clear how the accuracy of that captioning decreased. So one of the things about this is that there's going to be a training component for the classroom teachers. Yes, they're going to pop on their headset, but they have to really be aware that they can't just scratch their chin and move the actual boom mic. It will make a difference. And the other thing that I want to emphasize is that Supporting Success has a wonderful person named Mike Massini, who is our customer support person for anyone who's interested in giving Interact AS a try in a school system. And what we've found out is those folks who say, well, you know, it's only a $99 trial, we'll just get it, we'll just give it a try and see how it goes. Chances are it's not going to go exceptionally well. People who take advantage of Mike and take advantage of Rob's time and really get the support needed to understand the setup and really become comfortable with the different ways in which this can be used and the reminders for use, and it makes a total difference in how well the trial periods come out, and how happy everyone is with using the system. So I really wanted to emphasize that you need to truly consider, if you're going to do a trial period, that you take the time to also take advantage of our free support. So you can see Mike Massini's phone number there. You can see my phone number. And then if you want to send an email to Mike, he is at Interact AS Support and is very good at getting back to you, to whatever your questions are. And certainly the website, we've tried really hard as questions have come in and we've been dealing with situations to make sure that we try to put as much information and make it as easy to understand as possible on the website. So you can see on that left menu right in the middle where it says Interact AS, and then you can see the major pages. And if you want to just put on the cursor on, yes, thank you, Rob, you can get specific information about the $99 trial, including how it is, how to time it out. Now let me explain what I mean by that. You have, during this trial period, you have 30 days with the software, 30 calendar days, and that's from the time you install it on the computer or the media device, that media tablet or that laptop computer. When you get the microphone, you're getting it on loan. It is a $349 microphone, and so when you go ahead and pay for the trial, you will be charged $399. $300 of that is a deposit. So if you go through and you you have the microphone for 45 days, so that 45 days starts when it arrives at your doorstep. So that's why it's a longer period than the 30 days with the software that doesn't start until you install it. Because we really want to encourage you to have as complete a trial as possible, but there's a lot to do within that 30 days. So if you wanted to look down on this page, it goes through an example of how to time out that trial period so that you have a chance to really get used to it and to have the student become accustomed to how to use it. And then we really suggest you try it first with that one teacher who's kind of a techie and kind of excited about it, and get him on board or her on board, and get the student and that teacher until that, yeah, it's working well, and then expand to the other teachers. The student will be carrying the microphone, the little small microphone pack, and they'll be carrying the little receiver pack plus their media device. And of course, if they're using their FM, they'll take that along with, so it can be plugged in. And so every time they go to a class, they will drop off that microphone, the body of the microphone, onto the teacher's desk. The teacher will plug in their headset and be ready to go. So that's what it looks like as the student goes from class to class. And of course, depending on their classes, they might choose to really use the captioning and rely on it heavily in some classes, and other classes, for whatever reason within the dynamics of that class, they don't feel it is necessary. So it's a wonderfully flexible accommodation that way. But one of the things to keep in mind, and this is a question we always get, is that just like an FM system, the only thing that is received by that student is what is coming through the microphone. So we can't expect that Interact AS with the microphone on the teacher all of the time, it isn't going to be picking up student communication, students answering questions, student discussion. It really, as I had mentioned, that microphone has to be about 1 inch, maybe 2 inches from that person's mouth to be really translating. So it is not going to be picking up someone even standing, shoulder to shoulder with that teacher. So just like with an FM system, we really need to encourage those teachers to provide access to student information, student comments, by repeating the key information that as appropriate. And so that's something to keep in mind. I know with an FM system, there's a pass-around mic. We really don't see a pass-around mic application with Interact AS at this point. And part of that is because of the accuracy and needing to have trained accounts for everyone, although there is a very usable non-trained account that is wonderful. If you have a substitute teacher and there's not time to train an account, there is one that is available. So is there anything you wanted to add, Rob?
Well, I'm just looking at a lot of the questions here, and
Okay.
excuse me, so you talked a little bit about pricing of the trial program, and then there's questions about the actual cost of the overall system for a permanent license.
Of course.
And so, yeah, let me jump over to that,
Okay.
and I'll let you talk a bit about that.
Purchasing.
Let's see, purchasing, yep. Whoops.
There we are.
And almost at it.
You're too fast. No, and just stay on purchasing.
Right here?
There. Yeah, right there.
There we go. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so go on down to, and then you'll be able to see.
There's the trial, and right here, there we go.
Yep. And we do, U.S. Districts can purchase online, and we certainly do purchase orders, but not for the trial period if you are in the U.S. If you are overseas, there's a, we deal with paper ordering, and there's information on the website how to get those forms. So we certainly can provide this to anyone who's interested. So as you can see, if you were to just buy the professional edition of the software outright, it's $764.95. If you do the $99 trial, then at the end of that trial period, you would just upgrade, and that would be $716. So that's good. And then if you go down a little bit, if you love the idea of having all of these language modules available, it's really a deal. If you buy the Interact AS Professional Edition plus those, it's, as you can see right at the bottom of the screen, it's $844.95. So if you want to scroll down here, Rob.
Sure.
Thanks. Just to show the, if you wanted to just have a Spanish language module that is loaded onto this one computer, then that would be $99, and there's, all of these languages are available. So we really would like to have people do the trial period with the most accurate microphone available, and that is what we're selling here for $349, and that's why we've chosen to put it in the trial period. And you can see that you can get one additional headset for $49, or as Rob had said, you can get 5 for the price of 4. So I believe if you would scroll down again, that's $192. We don't really use the tabletop desktop microphones so much, but there are times when professionals with hearing loss use this, and there are advantages in a small group setting to being able to use this desktop microphone or as a pass-around mic. But again, that's not our primary application. So certainly you can refer to this page more and to all of the pages that are here to support you as you learn more about Interact AS. So what more questions do we have, Rob?
Sure. So lots of questions dealing with, for example, the ability to add new vocabulary into the system.
Oh,
And so certainly you can do that. And I'm going to guess that, well, I would guess maybe 1% of our users do that, but Mike Messine is probably more in the order that, you know, there's a few terms that a lot of people add. But the point is, yes, you can add your own vocabulary to the system, and you're able to do that quite easily. There's a module that we call Composer Editor, and within Composer, I'll show you what that looks like here. Probably hard for you to see sort of that little eye chart. But with Composer Editor, you have the ability to add terminology to your system. And that's certainly very nice to be able to do that. For example, perhaps the last names of an individual or a street address or something like that. The dictionary itself that we supply with the software has a little over 1 million words in it now. And for those of you that are linguists out there, we define word as every unique instance of the word. So past, present, future, those would be 3 different words for us versus classifying each word as its root. We define each tense of that word as being unique. So certainly a very large vocabulary, but yes, you definitely do have the ability to be able to add your own vocabulary to the system. A little bit of questions.
Oh,
Go ahead.
The help menus are really great too. You have a nice little video, don't you, that it just walks you through how to add vocabulary. That the help menu is just makes any of those questions very easy to find answers to.
And yes, and so videos, and then we have what we call quick start guides, some short tutorials, and a lot of questions with respect to how do you interface a particular and different questions, be it a ComPilot or Inspiro. And so what I'd encourage you to do is contact us, and we'll send you a quick start guide on how to be able to integrate an existing wireless FM system / hearing aid / cochlear implant with Interact AS. Again, our philosophy is very much, if there's an accommodation that's being used successfully, we do not want to take away that accommodation from the student. And so within Interact AS, we've designed the structure so that we can very much integrate that existing accommodation within the system itself. And rather than trying to describe it here in detail for all these different models and such, please do contact us, and we'll be able to send you some guides and step you through the process on how to do that and how to make it integrate with the existing capabilities.
Hey, Rob,
some other quick questions?
Rob,
yeah, go ahead.
Let's take a second to go and switch to the page that's computer requirements and setup. Can you do that, please?
Yeah.
Because that provides some really nice graphics that help a lot. There's 3 main options that we talk about in setting up Interact AS, with using a personal FM system, using a Bluetooth speaker, and then so this might help you. Just for those of you that ask that specific question, these 3 graphics might help you understand readily how it can occur. Okay.
And let me just highlight again, we're at the successforkidswithhearingloss.com, and on that you'll be able to navigate and see the various features and options that are shown there. Let's see, that pretty much covers most of the questions that we have right now.
That's great.
Available in other countries, yes. Available in other languages, yes. And so some questions about availability in Russia and in Canada here. And a couple questions for French, I guess probably related to the Canadian participants. But yes, we do support those, we can ship product out to those locations. And also if, for example, you want a student that's learning French, for example, the system will caption what is being spoken in French and display that only in French. Likewise, you could set up a translation capability. So as somebody is speaking French, it will just display the captioning in English. And likewise, if somebody was speaking English, you could display the captioning in French. But yes, definitely we have a French-to-French captioning capability, or I see somebody else ask for Spanish to Spanish. And so yes, if you have students that are in those language classes, we can provide captioning in that environment as well as in the English-speaking captioning. Exact same software, but you will, in those instances, need to order the $99 language module, which Karen talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been wonderful to have such a large group join us for this webinar. Hopefully you have received some basic answers to your questions and know the resources on the web that you can seek further answers to. And once again, I heartily encourage you to email interactassupport@successforkidswithhearingloss.com, and that will get you connected with Micah Messini, who is our very knowledgeable support person, and either he or Rob will be your go-to guys if you're going to go ahead and do a trial period, and they'll help and make sure that you're comfortable with the setup and get you all set and going. So without any further ado, thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy days, and we really appreciate your attention today.